Right now, somewhere out past the orbit of Jupiter, an object is leaving our solar system forever. It came in fast, out of the dark between the stars. It glowed. It grew a tail. And it did a few things that made some very serious scientists ask a very strange question. Was it aliens? For a few months in 2025, this little smudge of light had a big chunk of the internet convinced we'd finally been visited. A Harvard astronomer went on the record saying it might be alien technology.
The trajectory of this object is very peculiar. It actually lies in the orbital plane of the planets around the sun.
People genuinely freaked out. And then the data came in. The truth wasn't a spaceship. It was something older. Older than the Earth. Older than the sun itself. This is the story of 3I Atlas, the most ancient thing we have ever watched fly past our planet. So let's start with where it came from, because that part isn't up for debate. On July 1st, 2025, a survey telescope in Rio Hurtado, Chile, part of a NASA-funded system called ATLAS, picked up a faint dot moving against the crowded star fields near the center of the Milky Way. At first, it looked like just another asteroid. It got a boring temporary name and went into the queue. But within hours, astronomers pulled up older images of that same patch of sky, and they started tracing its path backward.
Now, something ancient is racing through our skies. It's older than the sun, and it's stranger than any comet, and it's rewriting what we thought we knew about the cosmos.
That's when things got interesting, because the path didn't curve the way things bound to our sun curve. It was a hyperbolic trajectory with an orbital eccentricity of around 6. If you remember nothing else about orbits, just know this. A normal comet loops around the sun like a ball on a string. This thing was on a path that only makes sense if it came from outside the solar system entirely, was never captured by the sun's gravity, and is just passing through on its way back out into deep space. And it was moving. It entered at roughly 58 kilometers per second relative to the sun. That's about 130,000 miles per hour. Way faster than the 2 interstellar visitors we'd seen before it. Because yes, there had been 2 before. The first was Oumuamua, that weird cigar-shaped object back in 2017 that everybody argued about.
So NASA discovers the interstellar comet moving through the solar system, and these are the first images here, so you can see it's a little bit grainy, but you can make up from the little arrows pointing at it.
The second was Comet Borisov in 2019. This new one became the 3rd confirmed interstellar object in human history, which is why it got the name 3I, Atlas. The 3 stands for third, the I stands for interstellar. Pretty literal as far as cosmic names go. And the wild part is how small the thing actually is. The solid, icy core at the center, what astronomers call the nucleus, is tiny by cosmic standards. The best measurements put it at less than a few kilometers across, and quite possibly much smaller than that. So picture something maybe the size of a small mountain, or even less, carrying a secret older than the ground you're standing on, all the way across the galaxy.
3I Atlas is the comet that's making a quick one-and-done tour of the solar system. 3I Atlas is only the 3rd confirmed object to visit our corner of the cosmos from another star.
So we had an ancient traveler from another star, screaming through our neighborhood, lighting up as it got closer to the sun. And then the anomalies started piling up. And this is where the alien talk really took off. A few specific things got people going. First, 3I Atlas brightened a lot, faster than you'd casually expect from a typical comet at that distance. Its path through the solar system was retrograde, meaning it went the opposite way the planets orbit, and it happened to be tilted to within about 5 degrees of the flat plane that all our planets sit in. Some people did the math on how unlikely that alignment was, and it sounded suspicious. Then telescopes spotted a jet of material pointing toward the sun instead of away from it, what some people called an anti-tail. Comets usually stream their tails away from the sun, so a sunward jet raised eyebrows. And as the object swung around the sun, it got a small extra nudge of speed that gravity alone couldn't explain. A tiny, non-gravitational acceleration. And on top of all that, when the very large telescope in Chile broke down the light coming off it, they found vaporized nickel, but almost none of the iron that usually shows up right alongside nickel in space rocks. Nickel without iron. That's unusual. So you put it all together, an object from another star, on a strangely aligned path, brightening fast, shooting a jet toward the sun, getting a mysterious push, made of stuff in odd proportions.
A Harvard astronomer known for his controversial theories on alien life will lead a new White House advisory council focused on UFOs.
WBZ's Courtney Cole is with us in studio now with what he is telling us about his new role. Courtney?
The Harvard astronomer Avi Loeb, who runs something called the Galileo Project, and who'd made similar arguments about Oumuamua years earlier, laid all of these out and asked whether 3I Atlas could be artificial. Maybe a probe, maybe something with an engine. He put the odds of that fairly low even in his own writing, but the headlines didn't care about nuance. The internet ran with it. And honestly, you can see why. An ancient object from another solar system, showing up right when our telescopes were good enough to catch it, behaving strangely. That is the opening scene of a science fiction movie. But then scientists looked closer, and the closer they looked, the less it resembled technology, and the more it resembled a very dirty, very old snowball. Because here's what the telescopes actually saw. Not a clean, smooth, engineered surface. They saw mess. They saw a fuzzy cloud of gas and dust called a coma, stretching out around the object.
These objects are human-made. They would file these cases as classified reports within the Pentagon, within the intelligence agencies. So the fact that they open up to the scientific community.
They saw it venting water vapor, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and other gases as sunlight heated it up. They watched its appearance change as it warmed. Every single one of those things is a textbook comet signature. A spacecraft does not casually leak clouds of water and carbon dioxide into space the way an icy comet does when the sun cooks it. And then there was the most direct test of all. If this thing were a probe, you might expect it to, transmit something. So the SETI Institute pointed the Allen telescope array at it and listened across a wide range of radio frequencies. Breakthrough Listen ran its own search, and they heard nothing. No signal, no transmission, no techno-signature of any kind. The searches were sensitive enough to detect a transmitter as weak as something between 10 and 110 watts. We're talking about the power of a household light bulb. If anything had been broadcasting from there, we'd very likely have caught it. There was only silence. So in November 2025, NASA basically said the quiet part out loud at a press conference. Their words were about as blunt as space agencies get. This object is a comet. It looks like a comet, it behaves like a comet, and all the evidence points to it being a comet. And this is the part I love. Even Avi Loeb, the guy who raised the alien question in the first place, eventually agreed. As the object headed back out toward deep space without ever once phoning home, he publicly said it was most likely natural. The mystery, in the alien sense, was over. But ruling out aliens didn't make 3I Atlas boring. Not even close. Because now, scientists had a natural object that was genuinely, deeply weird, and they had to figure out what kind of place could possibly have made it. And that question turned out to be way more interesting than little green men. Take the way it behaved after it rounded the sun. The closest point in its orbit, called perihelion, happened on October 29th, 2025.
So the Hubble Space Telescope actually took a picture of the 3I Atlas as well, and it worked out the size of this thing. The comet is mostly made up of ice, and it's approximately 3.5 miles across in diameter.
And after that, you might expect it to just quietly fade as it moved away from the heat. Instead, it kept going. It stayed active. It kept brightening. It kept venting. We got an incredible look at this because Earth telescopes weren't the only ones watching. In one of the most remarkable observation campaigns ever pulled off for a single object, a whole fleet of spacecraft scattered across the solar system turned to catch it. The Hubble Space Telescope imaged it. The James Webb Space Telescope studied its chemistry. And in early October, as the comet passed relatively close to Mars, the robots we keep stationed at the Red Planet looked up. NASA's Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter photographed it from around 30 million kilometers away, the closest any spacecraft got to it. Other Mars orbiters and even the rovers on the surface joined in. Think about that for a second. we had cameras on another planet turn around to watch a visitor from another star. And as the comet swung back toward deep space, the European Space Agency's JUICE spacecraft, which is on its way to Jupiter, got a front-row view. JUICE measured this thing pouring out something like 2,000 kilograms of water every second. That's roughly 70 Olympic swimming pools a day, streaming off a single comet. But here's the key. That was not an engine. That was not a propulsion system. That was billions of years of frozen ice finally thawing. The sun reached deep into a porous, icy body, and material that had been locked solid since before our planet existed suddenly woke up. It wasn't turning on, it was melting. Now, before we get to the really mind-bending part, I want to quickly knock down one other theory, because it floated around online and it deserves an honest answer. Some people, looking at how different this object's chemistry seemed, started asking whether it could be from somewhere even more exotic than another star, like another universe entirely. It's a fun idea, but the science doesn't support it, and the reason is actually kind of beautiful. If 3I Atlas were from a different universe, you'd expect its physics or chemistry to break the rules we see everywhere around us. Impossible materials, stuff that shouldn't exist. But that's not what anyone found. What they found was water, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, dust, methane, heavy hydrogen. These are all completely familiar cosmic ingredients. We know them. We've seen them all over our own galaxy. The strange thing about 3I Atlas was never that it's made of impossible chemistry. The strange thing is the recipe. The same familiar ingredients, mixed in proportions we almost never see. So no, it's not a visitor from another universe. It's something more grounded, and in a way more astonishing. It's a sample from a completely different kind of birthplace, somewhere in our own galaxy that we'd never gotten to study before. And the first big clue to that birthplace was hiding inside its water. Using ALMA, a giant array of radio dishes in the Chilean desert, together with the James Webb Space Telescope, scientists measured something called the deuterium to hydrogen ratio in the comet's water. Deuterium is just a heavier version of hydrogen with an extra neutron. People sometimes call water made with it heavy water or semi-heavy water. And it turns out the amount of deuterium in water is like a thermometer for where that water formed. Colder environments tend to load water up with more deuterium. When they ran the numbers on 3I Atlas, the deuterium level was off the charts. It was more than 10 times higher than what we see in comets born in our own solar system. NASA's own description put it at around 30 times higher. Either way, it's not a small difference. It's a giant flashing sign that says this water formed somewhere unbelievably cold. We're talking temperatures around 30 degrees above absolute zero. That is colder than almost anywhere comets in our solar system came from. This wasn't evidence of another universe. It was evidence of another, much older, much colder birthplace. And the carbon told the same story, just from a different angle. 3I Atlas turned out to be one of the most carbon dioxide-rich comets ever observed. When Webb looked at it, the amount of CO2 compared to water was something like 18 times higher than you'd predict for a comet at that distance from the Sun. That alone made it a weirdo among comets. But the real treasure was in a specific kind of carbon. There are two main flavors of carbon in the universe: carbon-12, the common one, and carbon-13, a slightly heavier version. And this is the cool part. Carbon-13 builds up in the galaxy over time, generation after generation of stars cooking it and seeding it back into space. So the more carbon-13 something has, the later in cosmic history it generally formed. Younger material is richer in it. And 3I Atlas had almost none, just traces. Its carbon was so dominated by the light version that it pointed to an origin incredibly early in the history of the galaxy, long before our solar system's neighborhood had been enriched the way it is today. The chemistry was practically shouting that this thing is old. If you're enjoying this and you want more space mysteries broken down without the clickbait, take a second and subscribe. Now let's get to the part where it gets really hard to wrap your head around. Before we land the big one, there was one more discovery worth mentioning. In December 2025, the James Webb Space Telescope took another look and detected methane. Methane is extremely volatile, meaning it escapes easily with even a little heat, so finding it appearing later in the journey was telling. The likely explanation is that this methane was tucked deeper inside the comet, shielded until the sun's warmth finally worked its way in. The picture that emerged was of a layered, primitive body, slowly being peeled back and revealing older and older material the longer it stayed near our star. So now, add it all up. Heavy water from an ultra-cold birthplace, carbon that looks ancient, volatiles that survived since the dawn of the galaxy. All of it was building to one staggering conclusion, and two completely separate teams using completely different methods arrived at the same answer. The first method was about motion. Days after the discovery, a team led by Matthew Hopkins and Chris Lintott at Oxford fed the comet's trajectory into a statistical model they'd built. Funny detail, Hopkins had defended his PhD thesis only about a week earlier, and then the perfect object to test his model on came flying out of nowhere. Their model looked at how the object moves through the galaxy and estimated its age from that. The result? There's roughly a 2/3 chance that 3I Atlas is older than our entire solar system. Their best estimate put it at more than 7 billion years old, possibly the oldest comet anyone has ever seen. For comparison, every comet that actually belongs to our solar system, including famous ones like Halley's, formed at the same time the Sun and planets did, around 4.5 billion years ago. Hopkins put it simply, those comets are at most about 4.5 billion years old, but an interstellar visitor has the potential to be far, far older. And this one looked like the oldest yet. Then came the second method, and this is the one that really sealed it. In June 2026, a team at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center, led by astrochemist Martin Cordner, published their analysis in the journal Nature, one of the most respected scientific journals in the world. They used those isotope measurements, the heavy water and the missing carbon-13, to estimate when this object formed. Their conclusion: 3I Atlas may have come together as long as 10 to 12 billion years ago. Sit with that number for a second. The universe itself is about 13.8 billion years old, so this comet may have formed when the universe was only a couple of billion years old. It's possibly 3 times the age of our Sun. Cordner called it potentially the oldest object ever observed in our solar system. 2 teams, one looking at how it moves, one looking at what it's made of, and they pointed to the same impossible-sounding truth. 3I Atlas is older than the Earth, older than the Sun, a frozen survivor from an era of the galaxy that ended before our world even began to form. For months, people had been asking whether this thing was built by intelligence. The far more amazing answer is that it was built by time. Which leaves one last question. If it's that old, where exactly did it come from? And the answer takes us to a part of our own galaxy you've probably never heard of. Picture the Milky Way from the side. Most of the stars you know, including our Sun, live in a relatively flat, thin sheet called the thin disk. It's where star formation is still happening, where the material is rich and recycled. That's our home turf. But above and below that bright, thin layer is a puffier, more spread out region called the thick disk. And the stars there are different. They're old. They're poorer in heavy elements. They orbit on tilted paths that dive up and down through the galaxy instead of staying flat. These thick disk stars are some of the oldest in the galaxy. They formed during an intense early burst of star birth, a period astronomers sometimes call cosmic noon, billions of years before our Sun switched on. And when the Oxford team traced the steep, fast, tilted motion of 3I Atlas, it pointed right back toward that ancient population. This object very likely formed around a long-dead star in the galaxy's thick disk, in the deep past, and has been drifting through interstellar space ever since. And here's the slightly haunting part. We will never know exactly which star made it. After billions of years of looping through the galaxy and getting tugged by the gravity of countless stars and gas clouds, its path has been scrambled beyond any hope of tracing it home. Its parent star is almost certainly long gone, having lived and died eons ago. 3I Atlas is an orphan, a message in a bottle from a sender that no longer exists. So why does any of this actually matter, beyond being an incredible story? Because 3I Atlas gave us something we have no other way to get. We can't fly to another star. We can't scoop up a sample from the disk of dust and ice around some distant sun and bring it home to study. The distances are just too vast. But every once in a great while, the galaxy does the delivery for us. It flings a piece of another planetary system right through our neighborhood. And this time, for the first time, our telescopes and spacecraft and rovers were ready and waiting. What 3I Atlas taught us is that planetary systems do not all form the way ours did. They can come together under wildly different conditions, far colder, far older, with the same basic ingredients arranged into completely different recipes. Our solar system, it turns out, is not the universal template for how to build a world. It's just one version. One example of what nature can do, and there are countless others out there. And there's a bigger question hiding inside all of this. So far, we know of exactly one place in the entire universe where the right chemistry came together and turned into life. Here, us, Earth. Studying ancient objects like 3I Atlas, the ones that carry the raw building blocks of other star systems, is one of the only ways we can begin to ask how common those conditions really are out there in the dark. Every one of these visitors is a tiny clue in the biggest question we've ever asked. Are we alone? We started this whole story chasing aliens, and in a strange way, a frozen, lifeless comet billions of years old might bring us closer to that answer than any anomaly ever could. The best part? This is only the beginning. A brand new telescope called the Vera Rubin Observatory is just getting started, and it's expected to spot many more of these interstellar visitors in the coming years. 3I Atlas might be the oldest we've seen so far. It almost certainly won't be the last. So in the end, 3I Atlas was not an alien spacecraft. It was not a messenger from another universe. It was something quieter and colder and far, far older. A piece of another planetary system. A frozen archive of ancient chemistry, sealed since the early days of the galaxy. A traveler that crossed the dark between the stars for billions of years, only to be briefly warmed by our sun and studied, for a few short months, by a species that has only just learned how to look up and understand what it's seeing. And now it's leaving, slipping back into the dark, never to return.